Hey everyone, I'm Ashleigh Banfield and this is Drop Dead Serious. I have an update for you in the case of that Utah Doomsday mom who's accused of abducting her 4 kids by 2 different dads and fleeing the country based on the rapture, based on the apocalypse, fearing that Salt Lake City, where she was, is going to be the epicenter of the apocalypse and I got to get these kids out of here. I mean, if you look at her social media, that's effectively her message and it is nuts. But what's not nuts and what is illegal is packing up your 4 kids and leaving the country when their dads don't agree to it. And neither of those dads knew a damn thing about this crazy religious prophecy that she had and then the plan to take the children out of the United States. It's not just flights out of the country. She took 4 kids by 2 different dads. And if she's guilty of this, she took them out of the country without the permission of the fathers. And I don't know how she would have gotten passports for these kids because fathers have to agree and show up in person, usually, in order to get passports for kids. So there could be lots of crimes that may have been committed. I do not know this to be the fact, but if the passports were forged in order to get these passports for all 4 kids, that's a possibility. Again, when I got passports for my kids, both mom and dad had to appear in person in the passport office. Don't know about, how this would have happened because that's federal, right? Usually through the post office, and it's not a state thing. So I'm still trying to get my head around that. But the kinds of crimes that you could be prosecuted for are very serious. I mean, these are custodial crimes as well, but there's also child endangerment if she's put them in a situation where they're endangered. And we don't know what circumstance they're in this foreign country. So we just know that a plane took off from the U.S., made a stop, and ended up in Croatia. That's what the FBI has been able to trace thus far. And so the issue became, well, where in Croatia? And the trail went cold until possibly today. So here's what I can tell you. There's a Facebook post that's now circulating claiming that the children may have been found. At this point, we have not been able to confirm this officially, and we are working, have been at it all day trying to verify this. But I want to rewind for just 1 second. I'll get more about the Facebook post and who posted and what they said about the kids and where they are in just a second. But 35-year-old Elleshia Seymour is from Utah, and she is right now charged with 4 official counts of custodial interference after she vanished. Police say she vanished on November 29th. Think about it. November 29th, just after Thanksgiving. Again, not just leaving the state, leaving the country. The way they found her was they found her car. It was discovered abandoned at Salt Lake City International Airport. And so the surveillance track began. And they traced her throughout the terminal with one-way international tickets for all 5 of them. 4 young kids and mom traveling with her. So the kids are Landon, Levi, Hazel, and Jacob. And they range in age from 3-year-old to 11. So young. Later, these kids were declared endangered missing kids after a welfare check revealed that the house was unlocked. Nobody was there. No explanation for where they were, where the kids were. And some telltale clues that were left behind inside the house. I'll tell you that as well in a moment. What made this case so different and deeply unsettling is what came next. Family members and the investigators noticed the social media posts. And folks, when I say alarming, I mean alarming. TikToks where Ms. Seymour allegedly spoke about the end times coming and destruction and divine warnings, claiming that she was trying to protect her children from what she believed was the end of the world, all based right there in Salt Lake. And now weeks later, this Facebook post is raising the possibility that we may be into a whole new phase of this story, and it isn't good. Finding the kids, great if that's the case, but oh my God, what comes next? I had no idea. I'm going to read you the Facebook post in a moment. I want you to also know that left behind in Elleshia Seymour's house was a notebook and lots of stuff that had been damaged and, shredded and all sorts of documents that had been, disposed of. But the notebook had some clues about her plans. And the investigators got them right away, which is why they jumped on this so quickly and started looking at airports for abandoned vehicles. And that's how they got on her trail. So now, weeks later, a Facebook post is raising the possibility that this story may be entering a whole other phase. And let me tell you, it isn't good. Yes, if they found the kids, it's great. But no, I just found out a whole lot of information that I was not expecting about how hard it's going to be to repatriate those kids, get them back to the US. It turns out it is not as simple as dads go over and pick up their kids. It is not that simple, and it could be years. Oh my God, it just blew my mind when I had this conversation with this attorney who specializes in this kind of overseas custodial issues. I'm going to play it for you in just a minute. And I'm also going to read you the Facebook post from the family, because that's the most informative part of all of this, what they say they have discovered over in Croatia. First, though, just a huge thank you to you for being a part of this podcast, for watching it, and for following me, and then for subscribing. Thank you. And also big thank you to my sponsors, because they make this possible. And I think you can probably tell from my background that I am traveling. And when I'm traveling, I kind of depend on making dinner easy. And I have discovered Cook Unity. This is a lifesaver. I mean, honestly, for my schedule, for my traveling, it is the world's first chef-to-you meal delivery. Means that these are fresh meals, and they're made by award-winning chefs. And they bring them right to your door in this little, carrying case, which I love. It takes minutes to get them ready. They're not frozen or icky or gross when you open them. They're actually like fancy. And I'm obsessed. First of all, I love Thai. I love Vietnamese. I love Asian food. And so, damn, I can pick from hundreds of these options in the menu. Every week I can choose new ones. The variety is epic. And I'm kind of stuck on all the Asian stuff because I really love it. But they do world cuisine, they do comfort food, they do lighter meals, which I know I need. But I'm done with the boring meal prep. Like, I went nuts over this chicken biryani and the Thai chicken sausage, both of them from Arthi Sampath. That's the chef. So now I'm like completely stalking her online because it was so good. If you want to get some half-priced, you heard me, half-priced, just go to the link in the description and try Cook Unity. I got you 50% off your first order. You're welcome. Click the link in the description and then use my code Banfield to try it out. Again, Cook Unity, use the code Banfield, and then tell me in the comments which chefs you liked best and if you liked Arthi Sampath. Okay, back to the case and that Facebook post. This got me really excited when we saw it. And again, we are looking to confirm every aspect of it, but this is what we discovered. I'll read it verbatim. We have located my nephews and niece. My brother, his fiance, and I are all in Croatia, jumping through all the legal hoops here to get the kids released into our care. They have been in a children's center here in Croatia for 5 days now. We've been able to visit them for a couple of hours each day, but that is it. We are working with local police, a local lawyer, social services, the U.S. Embassy here, and Interpol. This has been infinitely more complicated and costly than we expected. We never expected we would need to hire a lawyer or get documents translated into Croatian. We never expected that it would take days to get the kids released to us. We never expected to only be able to see them a couple of hours a day. We never expected to be here fighting to get the kids back with such little answers of when that will actually happen. But for now, the kids are safe, taken care of, eating, sleeping, and they are together. The kids are so bored in the center, though, and they're begging to leave. A children's center like this simply does not exist in the States, but for lack of a better comparison, it's like an orphanage. The city we are in is beautiful. The people here are kind, and most of the workers at the center speak English to some degree. We are thankful we know where they are. We are thankful we get to see them each day. We are grateful they are safe and taken care of. We are grateful for all your support in kind words, donations, and encouragement. We don't know when, but we will get the kids back home where they belong. That's what matters. That's the end of the Facebook post. And once I had this incredible conversation with this professor who's an attorney and an expert on international repatriation of children, I knew exactly what they meant with every word of that Facebook post. Again, if we can confirm that this is them, it sure does look like it is the family of these kids. But We don't know if Elleshia Seymour has been arrested. I can assume she has been. If the children are in the orphanage / family center, I can assume that mom has been taken into custody. After all, there are warrants for her arrest, right? And Interpol is involved. So we play pretty well in the sandbox with European Union countries. And I believe Croatia is part of the European Union. But we do know this, Croatia does extradite to the United States. So that's the next process. But then the kids, as it turns out, not so simple. What that family member said is actually spot on. And I don't think she even knows how bad this could end up being. It's not just as simple as show up, get the dads, hold your ID, get your kids, walk out. Even the dads can't necessarily spend time with those kids. So that little few hours a day, that was more than I now expected might be the reality for them, given what this attorney has told me. So Dimitri Ioannidis is a lecturer at Boston University School of Law. He's a lawyer, and he knows a lot about this. And so I called him right away to say, what's going to happen? And more importantly, how soon can the kids come home? And what he said, honestly, kind of shocked me. Have a look. Dimitri, it seems as though if you're a father and your former spouse has taken your children overseas, you should be able to just go overseas and pick them up and bring them home. But it doesn't seem that simple.
And it's not that simple, actually.
So what is it? What is the hiccup?
Well, it's very difficult to go to a foreign country and say, oh, by the way, I have an order from a court in the US. And because I have an order that says I get to have custody of my kids, you now have to accept the order. It's the legal system that we have developed in international recognition of judgments or orders from the court is a little complex. So back a few years ago, there was an international convention that was adopted by a lot of different countries called the Hague Convention on the Abduction of Kids or Children. And the whole purpose of that was to create a system whereby these types of cases were properly handled. Because, if you go to a foreign country, you don't know who the lawyers may be, you don't know who to hire, you have no idea what the judicial system may be. And it sort of facilitated a process where each country that is a member of the Hague Convention now has to create a department that deals with these types of specific cases. So the system has been created to deal with these cases, but it takes time. It's not quick.
So tell me what these fathers are going to encounter in a place like Croatia. And Serbo-Croatian is not, an easy language to pick up. So there are language barriers. There are different laws for each of the EU countries. What are these fathers likely to encounter when they try to get these kids back?
If they do it on their own, it's going to be extremely difficult. What they need to do is go through the State Department. There's a specific unit in the US government that kind of facilitates this process. So what basically happens is you file a request with that particular department. That request is then transferred to the sort of same unit in the foreign country. So now it's an intergovernment type of a relationship. So the request is sent over to them, to that particular office. That particular office now facilitates the discussion. They may kind of give you a lawyer, they may help you, and it's a particular office that deals with these types of issues. So there is a process. Now, I'm not sure about Croatia. That's something that we have to look in as to whether or not Croatia is a member of the Hague Convention. We surely can do an easy search. But
is it a long process? I mean, I'm thinking about these kids. They're, the youngest one is 3. Mom is going to get arrested for having broken the law like this. How long are these kids going to be in limbo?
Well, in one case that I've been in limbo, we were able to get one of the children back. So then 10 years later, one child was in a different country, the second child was here, and they kind of developed into completely different people, right? Because they grew up separately. We could not get the second child because of all sorts of, over 10 years. And, it's unfortunate that these things kind of happen. But in certain places, politics, the community, a lot of things can affect these types of issues. Now, if the mother is not, let's say, Croatian or is not a native of that particular country, you may get a more friendly ear and they may be more willing to help you. If it's a national of that country, that may kind of play into it.
It doesn't seem that, I'm not going to say for sure. She has no accent. She seems to be from Salt Lake. The kids seem to be from Salt Lake. They, I believe, had American passports. I'll have to check that. So it feels to me more like this was a woman who is suffering from mental illness, who broke the law, took her children to a foreign country that they don't have that tie to necessarily, and that there aren't family members there of those children. And so it's really just a case of, why would a foreign government want to keep children in their custody when those fathers want them back?
Yeah, it's not the government. So it's the judicial system. You have to go to the court system, let's say of Croatia or any other European country, and you have to ask a judge to enforce an order from the American judge. So the first thing that has to happen is the parents that have had kids that have been abducted have to go to the local court that has jurisdiction to hear these types of cases. So the children must have been in the U.S. in a particular jurisdiction for at least 6 months before the abduction. So the court has jurisdiction. You have to request a particular order that says under the Hague Convention and all these types of things, so that a court, let's say in Croatia, will understand it, recognize it under the Hague Convention, and then enforce it as if it's a local order of the court.
This is just a nightmare. I mean, I just think of these dads. I don't know what kind of financial means they have. It's already expensive to go there. I've been to Croatia. It's not cheap. It's a very, it's a highly touristed area, and it's going to cost them a lot of money just to go and retrieve these children and get airline tickets to bring them back. Now they're talking about a protracted legal fight. Can you tell me, I mean, I'm assuming this is not going to take 10 years, but can you give me an idea, given the fact pattern and circumstances as we understand them, how long this could actually take them to get the kids?
It's extremely difficult to predict an outcome. So, for instance, you may go and get the court judgment from the U.S. court recognized by a local court. There may be an appeal, and the appeal process may take a little bit longer.
Who would appeal, though? Who would appeal?
The mom. Let's say in this particular case, the mom may appeal and say, hey.
But if she's arrested and extradited back to the U.S., could she still have that kind of standing to appeal to keep them in a foreign country alone?
Well, that's a different type of an issue now. Extradition is a different treaty. I mean, and then, you go through a different type of a request. There has to be some type of a criminal complaint that is issued against the mother. A specific request has to go through the U.S. government, putting it out there. And now you have a request for extradition of that particular individual. It's a totally different proceeding.
But the children don't get extradited because they're not criminals, just
as
she would be. So then these kids would be left, relatively orphaned, so to speak, in a foreign country with dads trying to get them home. Is that a different kind of scenario that speaks better to their case?
Well, I'm not sure that that's a different kind of a scenario. The key is to be able to get the kids back as soon as possible, right? So the first priority is to kind of work that case. Whether or not there's an extradition request and how long that takes and, things like that, that's probably a little bit of a separate issue that may take even longer because these types of requests can be appealed and then you got to have a final judgment. And, a lot of times countries will not extradite citizens of their own nationality. For instance, in Venezuela, just like, some issues that are coming up in our country now, extradition treaty between the U.S. and Venezuela. Venezuela does not extradite its own citizens to the U.S. no matter what they've done. So you have all these other intricate sort of questions that don't have a clear answer.
So these fathers better get comfortable and plan to spend time in Croatia in order to get all of this paperwork, literally just paperwork done?
Well, I'm not sure they need to stay in Croatia because they're not going to see the kids until they get an order. So what they're not going to see the kids unless there's an order from a Croatian court saying that, the fathers have rights. And that's not going to happen until you have the American court judgment recognized. So it's a process. It's not an easy task. That's not going to happen overnight, no matter what you use. Now, the U.S. government actually, the Department of State is very active on these types of cases. So you get a lot of assistance and there's a lot of help through that department. In some other countries, they may not have a very active department, so that may delay some things and you may have to go and ask and whatever, a lot of times that department may assign one of their own lawyers that they use for these types of cases. So you may get some legal representation as well, but you're not going to wait for months and months for a hearing to take place on the request.
Here's another weird question, and I'll wrap it up here. This mom, based on what I've seen on her social media, is hell bent on keeping her kids away from the Salt Lake City area because she believes that's the place where the apocalypse is going to hit and that all hell's going to break loose. And she, in her mind, I believe, thinks that it was safer to get them as far away as possible. If she is dealing with her own criminal allegations, does she have some kind of a right to say to the court, either in America or in Croatia, I don't want those children coming back from Croatia, no matter whether they're alone or with the social services system over there. I don't want, and will they actually recognize that?
So the way it kind of works is that if you get a court order from the US that says, we as a court here, Iowa, whatever state it is, right? We have jurisdiction over these children. We take jurisdiction over these kids and we are going to make decisions. The court in Croatia, under that treaty, will not consider the merits of the case. What they're all going to do is just say, okay, we have an order, go back to the US and figure out what the court is going to do in the US. The court is not going to reconsider the decision of an American court. The whole purpose of this process is to eliminate these types of issues. So if you get an order from the US court that says the fathers have custody, and you take that through the system that we are talking about, through the State Department, right? The unit for the abduction of kids. There's no way that the mother can now go back and challenge that decision in a foreign country court.
I guess the silver lining here is that, thank God, the State Department will likely be heavily involved in this and help these fathers, because I keep coming back to the best interests of the children, and being in some lonely foreign family center without even being able to see your dad. When your mom is being carted off, into some kind of criminal prosecution, it really breaks my heart.
They're very, very difficult cases, emotionally as well. And imagine when the parents, the fathers, go to get the kids a year from now, 2 years from now. If we have a 3-year-old child who has not had any contact with a father, how is that process going to change? How are you going to get a child out of that environment, just bring it back? There are all sorts of challenges to these types of situations. Very
But
difficult.
Dimitri, promise me this, it won't necessarily take a year, will it?
If you want to be completely optimistic, yeah, but my experience is that it takes a long time for these kind of cases to go because we don't have control over the judicial system in those countries. Some places file a petition now and you get a hearing a year later. So it depends on how aggressive the lawyer that the local agency hires and how much they want to push it. And then politics come into play. So you got to call your senator, you got to call your state representatives, and you got to ask them to intervene and kind of push the US government to perhaps initiate some more political push in order for these things to kind of
I never expected to hear the things that you're saying, and it really is upsetting. What a terrible crime this will end up having been. It's more than just a flight. It's a lot more than that. Dimitri, thank you so much for this. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So I promise you, I am going to be watching this story really closely, and I'm going to check in with Dimitri again. I'm going to get that family, if it kills me, to figure out who they are and how I can connect with them and how they can respond to me about the progress they're making. And I actually want to connect Dimitri to them so that they can get some help. The State Department, hopefully helpful to them as well, because you do not want to be alone in a foreign country with a different language trying to make sense of their legal system and how it jives with ours. It's a lot. I mean, it's State Department level, and then it's the jurisdiction of each place, the Utah jurisdiction, and then the Croatian jurisdiction, how the State Department plays with those judges. It's a lot. So make sure you're subscribed so I can keep you updated. Subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Don't miss a single bit of this, because this is still an active situation. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching and listening. I'm Ashleigh Banfield. And remember, the truth isn't just serious, it's drop dead serious.